Good morning, everyone. It's Alexi J. McDonald here from Above and Beyond Reality. Welcome to our Conscious Conversations interview series with PSYCH-K facilitators from all around the world. I'm joined here by my friend Laura Gevanter. She is from New York. You're in the Hamptons. Welcome to the conversation series, Laura. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm doing great. Yes, yeah. I'm on the eastern tip of Long Island in New York.
Beautiful. This is the other side of the world, and I think you're 11 hours behind us, so it's great that we can be communicating and connecting while we're on the other side of the globe. So thank you so much to technology. How's your day been so far, Laura?
Day's been great. Oh, it's night here. It's totally dark. Although these days seems like it's getting dark at 2 o'clock. The day seems so short, but it's great. And I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. I've been really looking forward to it because you actually said that you've done podcasts and that you had your own podcast series. So this is great for me to be able to join with someone who has actually done the work already.
I did. I had a podcast for about 3 years. I used to interview people weekly, which was quite a big feat to like read an entire book and and schedule and find people. And I did it all myself. I didn't have someone like going and finding people. There was somebody, I read a book and I was like interested. I said, oh, I'd love to interview them. And I would approach them myself, and you get people want to talk about themselves. It was not difficult for me to get people to want to be on my show.
Yeah. Well, that as we just spoke of before this, that's the intent of this. And I love having these conversations, and it's really easy for me just to talk and allow others to share that space. So perhaps we could get it going by sharing your story. Where have you come from, and how did PSYCH-K come into your life?
So probably unlike a lot of other people that you've interviewed or other people that you speak to in PSYCH-K, I did not come from a healing modality before. I had a totally different career. I did marketing and product development in the beauty industry, which is totally different. Worked for big corporations, worked for startups. It was just a career that I fell into, although the holistic health world was always part of who I was and my upbringing, and it was always a passion of mine. So I was always studying alternative health or healing modalities or quantum physics or, you name it. And I just naturally have a curious mind, and I loved studying human behavior and just psychology and why people did things. And, eventually it kind of took over. And it was, you have to do this work. You have a natural ability to get to the root of things, and your intuition is sharp. And why aren't you doing this work? And it was just, I didn't know how to leave the career that I had for so many years. And at one point, I just said, I have to change. I have to do something. And I started hearing about life coaching. And that really resonated with me more so than, people used to always tell me, oh, you should be a therapist. You're so good at this. And I never had any interest in being a therapist. But coaching, I liked. I liked the idea of where somebody is right now and then where they potentially can be in the future. So that really appealed to me. So I went and I got my coaching certification, and I thought, this is it. This is what I'm meant to do with my life. And I did it part-time for a number of years, never really took the plunge to do it. It was just, I don't know if it was a disconnect. I don't know if whether I felt that what I was offering was unique enough, even though I did focus on law of attraction. So it was about energy, and it was about people raising their consciousness to how they're being and the importance of that. And then I heard about PSYCH-K probably about 8 years ago, and just kind of, when you just kind of hear about things, and it sounded interesting, but wasn't drawn to it. And it wasn't until I actually interviewed Bruce Lipton on my podcast, which was, oh my God, I'll never forget the day I got the email confirmation that, yes, he will be on your podcast. I was just like, yes, because I just admired this man for so long. And he talks about how PSYCH-K, was the modality that basically changed his life. And I thought, this man who I have so much respect for, who's internationally known for his work with epigenetics and brain science, if this guy is endorsing this, even though he wasn't really endorsing it, he was just kind of speaking more from his own experience. I said, I have to go do it. And I went and signed up for the basic workshop, and that's it. Changed my life forever.
Wow. What a wonderful experience to be able to interview Bruce and hear firsthand. I know my personal mentor, Rosie, she said that's what got her into PSYCH-K. She was at a course with Bruce, and she just couldn't believe how well he held space and how amazing he presented. And she went and asked him, what do you do? I need to do it. And she just said, Bruce just said to her, Rosie, PSYCH-K. That's it.
Wow.
And,
wow.
And that's what got her into PSYCH-K. So thank you so much, Bruce Lipton. You're an amazing man. He's doing amazing things in the world, and I love that we have him in our cheer squad helping PSYCH-K.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. So how was your first workshop? Where did you do that?
Oh my God, I did it in New York City, and which is about 2 hours from where I live. And I didn't know what to expect, as you don't. I just know I'm going to be in this room for 3 days. And I remember from the first hour, just kind of hearing what was to come or what it was about. And every single cell in my body was just resonating and saying, oh my God, you're in the right place. It was that kind of thing. And I've heard other people say that as well, that when it draws people that want this. I mean, that's the amazing thing about it. Is like, I would look around the room and you look at people and you would look at some of them and you'd say, wow, this person is like open to this level of consciousness. And then you hear them speak and it's like, whoa, this is so cool how it just attracts. I mean, it's such an international group and attracts all different kinds of people. And yet everyone was on the same page. Like, it just draws people that are ready for this. And I just knew once I did the basic, that was it. I was in for all of it. I was committed.
Yeah. My experience was quite similar. When I was in that workshop, my spirit hit me in the gut and said, this is you, you've got to follow this. And I agree with you. It's so wonderful that there are so many different walks of life. It doesn't matter what your background, your upbringing, your religion. It's not about any of that. It's just how to complement what we already know, and it really is aligning your conscious wisdom with your subconscious beliefs with your conscious wisdom, and getting the most out of your life. I mean, I grew up in the church, and I had a belief in my life that I was not even worthy of love, worthy of God's love. So like, for anybody who wants to just improve their life, it's just a beautiful compliment to really amplify what we already know. So do you work with this professionally now? Do you work with clients as well still, or how do you use PSYCH-K in your life?
Oh yeah, I'm doing it full time. So since I am a certified life coach as well, I have integrated them together. It's basically PSYCH-K based, but because I've naturally been a coach my whole life, and what I mean by that is always been very intuitive. I've always been very inquisitive, always curious. Always, I had a psychiatrist friend tell me one day, you ask the extra question. And he said, that's the question that most people don't ask, but that's where it has the gem, which is very interesting. It was very interesting to hear that someone observe that about me. So coaching came very easy, asking questions. And so for me to combine PSYCH-K with that, of just helping people craft their goal statements, finding out what they really want, what's going on. There's just a synergy that is just so beautiful that it's made my coaching, it's taken my coaching to a whole new level, and my coaching has definitely enhanced my PSYCH-K work. So the two of them just beautifully integrated. It took a little while. I wasn't sure how to kind of, do I still coach and I throw in a PSYCH-K balance here and there? And I'm like, no, PSYCH-K is the main focus of my work. And the coaching is just kind of helps get to, really what the focus is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you say you ask that extra question, but do you mind sharing with us perhaps a little bit of how a session would work for you and how that goes?
Sure. So I work remotely, mostly remotely with people. I also do see people in person. Regardless, I send them an intake form before we even meet. And there are specific questions that I ask. And I do this, first of all, so my client is clear on what they're coming with. People may just have a general idea, oh, I want to work on money. Oh, I want to work on, self-esteem or whatever, but it helps them focus on what it is they really want to concentrate on in the session. It also helps me to find the priority, right? So I can ask different questions, and there may be certain areas that, oh, they want to work on this, and then there's this, but like, oh, this is showing up in 3 or 4 different questions. There's a theme going on here. So I'll say, oh, I've noticed this, let's talk more about this. So the first session is usually about 90 minutes because it's sort of this, sometimes I do like a little pre 20-minute phone call before if there's someone who wants to understand Psych-K a little bit better. Sometimes it doesn't happen. So the first session is about really finding out what the focus is going to be, getting clear on, was there any trauma or stress, like fears that, that's one portion of it. And then what is it that they work on in terms of like their goal statements. And then we kind of decide what we should balance for, what the goal statements are going to be. I usually kind of go through the whole thing at once, and then we start doing the balances after, rather than, oh, let's balance. It depends. Now that I'm saying that, it really depends, because sometimes if it is one of the more in-depth balances, things come from that, and then we kind of go with it. I know I sound like I just contradicted myself, but like, for example, if I'm doing, if we're doing finding out messages, okay, that can open up a whole, array of things. And then we find out that could trigger something. And then, okay, great, let's go balance that. So it really depends on the client.
Down the rabbit hole we go.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite thing to do. I'm like, good, we're doing messages. I love this.
And it's really important, because often people come to us wanting to solve or change a situation, but that situation is often just a symptom of something else. So it's important to really get clear on what is causing that to be an experience in their life. So I love that Psych-K is so versatile and really does bring up to the surface the actual cause of the situation or the symptom. Is that something you experience with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I found too, to be probably some of the most effective, and this was kind of working with myself and balancing, in the beginning, you're just balancing for everything. And as well as clients, as I found, what's really the most impactful is balancing for states of being, as opposed to just a specific, I am this. Now, of course, those statements are super powerful and have their place. But when you can balance for a state of being, monumental changes can happen in someone's life. And I'll give you a personal example.
Right.
So I was making the transition myself about 2 years ago. I was doing consulting. I had a really nice income coming in. I knew it was going to be ending, and it was making this transition. I had been an employee my entire life. I knew what it was like to get a paycheck every 2 weeks and counting on that. This was getting into new territory. I was going to be self-employed. There's a whole slew of fears and insecurities and things that come up just about, can I do this? And of course, I've done a lot of balances. Probably the most impactful balance that I did with myself was I am at peace with uncertainty. And what that did for me, because you don't know when you're getting a new client, you don't know if money's coming in. And I was someone that would always try to make things happen. Okay, so what do I need to do to make this happen? And many times it's nothing. It's waiting and trusting. And what would happen was, so when it was like, okay, so next month I need to bring in X amount of money, whereas before it'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna have the money. What does that mean? What is it gonna, the mind goes to these crazy places. So what happened is the thoughts would still come in because they're habitual and they will continue to come for a while. And I always tell clients about this, if we balance for a stress trigger, the thought's going to come in, but there's not going to be a trigger. So all of a sudden you'll notice the thought and you'll be like, okay, so what? And then you're like, who am I? Who am I? This thing that used to freak me out is not freaking me out anymore.
Yeah.
So that's something many times that I will suggest when I'm working with clients. We'll come up with some goal statements, and I'll say, think about how you want to be, because states of being are super, super powerful. And you wouldn't necessarily think about that when creating a goal statement, because it's always about things that, how would you like to be instead? Oh, I'm feeling this way. I'd like to be this. I'd like to be this. Or life is easy, or I always get what I need. You know what I'm saying? It's, and I don't know if you've had that experience as well, but super, super powerful when you just, wow, I just want to be this way.
It's huge. And I love that you talk about I'm at peace with uncertainty, as you said, because everything is uncertain.
Everything is uncertain. Life is uncertain. Tomorrow is uncertain.
Not just business, everything, relationships, health. Somebody could get in the car and something could happen on their way to work. We just don't know anything. And to be at peace with whatever is happening is hugely, hugely powerful. But thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I didn't mention before that your business name is Conscious Alignment Coaching. How would people find you if they're wanting to book in any sessions with you?
My website is just lauragevanter.com.
Beautiful. Easy.
I'm on Instagram, Laura Gevanter. I'm on Facebook, Laura Gevanter. I'm pretty active on social media.
Awesome. And you're pretty busy in your business. You have availabilities for individuals if they wish to.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love this work. I love anyone that's drawn to do this work, who wants to try it. I tell people, look, certain things can transform in one session. Just be open that it may take a little longer, but certain things can be balanced in one session.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you've experienced as well.
Massive shifts can happen in just one session. I love it at the end of especially transforming the perception of stress, when people just sit there and they're just like, I don't even know what I used to feel. Where has it gone? Who, as you said, who am I?
Exactly.
It's a very cool experience to be involved in. So we're starting a new decade next year. What's on the cards for you? What can we expect from Laura Gevanter?
Actually, I'm working on some really cool things. I keep coming up with creative ways of doing this work, and one of the things that I like specifying certain groups or certain people in certain situations that I can create a program for. And next month, I'm going to be introducing PSYCH-K for Business. And this will be for entrepreneurs or people, small business owners or entrepreneurs, and the issues, the fears, the concerns that come up for people doing this. And, I have my personal experience in that area, plus the fact that I know a lot of people who are self-employed, and they're very specific to that. They're a specific, you just don't know what you're doing. You're stepping into a whole new territory. And I'm really excited about that, because I think it could just help people in a whole new level. And so that's one of the things I'm doing. And plus I like doing group stuff. So I'm still going to be doing kind of combining like some coaching group stuff with PSYCH-K. And I always have new ideas all the time. I'm just one of these people that I'm never at a loss for ideas. It's just a matter of taking them and implementing and putting them out in the world. But I just see huge potential for this work. And the more I do it, the more, I mentioned to earlier, it gets fine-tuned. It's like my intuition. It's like the work in the session. It just becomes this, not only the synergy between me and a client, but I actually feel like PSYCH-K is the third entity in the room.
Mhm.
because it's working. It's helping both of us. It's helping the client with the clarity. It's helping me know what to ask them. And to me, it's like I feel fully supported. I'm doing a session and I feel like I am this vessel that's from PSYCH-K to the client. It's, I just feel super, super connected. So the more I do this, the more it happens. So I'm just going with it.
Yeah. And it really is that. When we hear Rob Williams, the originator of PSYCH-K, speak of it, he talks of it as its own thought form, and it has energy and it's growing in power. And he said when he first started that a balance of a changing a belief used to take 15 to 20 minutes, maybe even longer. And now what it takes a couple, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes at max to go through one of these processes to create a new version of ourselves in that short space of time. PSYCH-K really is just getting started. It's at that, especially now, it's really growing in power and growing in stature, and people are learning more about it. So I'm really excited to see.
Yeah. I've done, I don't know, a few hundred, I don't know, maybe it's a few hundred, I don't know, at least 100, if not more. I'm still blown away by this work. I'm still blown away. I should not be, because I know the miracle of this work, and every single client session, I learn something and I have new insight, and there are still things that come up that I can't contain my excitement when I'm working with a client. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Meanwhile, I should be the one that's used to this because it happens every day. I don't know if you're the same way with this, but doesn't it just blow your mind sometimes?
Yeah, well, often the clients who I'm working with are exactly what I need to be working with on myself. So it's cool. I get a lot. We get to piggyback those balances and those goal statements that we create. And I get to grow as a result of helping somebody else grow. It really is that ripple effect. It's so
Yeah,
cool to be in this
absolutely.
space and be a vessel, as you say. I love that language. Thank you so
Well,
much for
that's why
joining.
it kind of takes the ego out of it. It's like, I tell people all the time, like, it's not me. It's really not me. And granted, listen, I have my life experience. I have my gifts and my talents and my training and all that. But when I'm in a session, it's not me. It's just this flow. And it's so nice to be able to just, not take credit for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you have a rapport with a client, and then you're tapped into the field, and then things just flow. Granted, that's not always the case. There are some clients that are a little challenging and kind of have this, like, they're not as open, or they're a little more challenging, and then we keep it simple. But the ones that want to go with it, I have the most fun with.
Yep, I
And I
totally
do have fun with it. I do have a lot of fun.
agree. It is. It's important. Fun. Yeah, if we can laugh, that's half the problem done. We can eliminate half the problem just with laughing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Laura. It's been an honor chatting with you just for my own growth. Perhaps before we sign off, do you have? I like to just throw this out there. I didn't prepare this. Maybe one little tip, a takeaway, or a piece of advice for anybody listening that they could maybe implement in their life. One piece of Laura's wisdom.
Someone who wants to learn about PSYCH-K, or just someone who's interested, or just in general?
Whatever you're feeling.
I would just say, and this is somebody who is, like I mentioned, naturally curious. If you are just curious, and I believe that curiosity is the only state where both hemispheres are automatically balanced. Did you hear that as well?
I've not heard that. That's wonderful, though. I love
I
that.
think that was in one of the trainings, that curiosity is the only state, because you don't bring any preconceived, right? You don't bring any experience. Curiosity, you're open.
Mm.
And if you approach, whether it's PSYCH-K, whether it's life, no matter what it is, if you approach it from a place of curiosity, your life will just be just so rich and so amazing, because you're open. You're in a state of openness and receiving. And it's a wonderful place to be. And there's a really, really wonderful book, if anyone's inclined, about curiosity, written by Brian Grazer, who's the big Hollywood, he's a producer. And it's called A Curious Mind. And I forgot this, it's called A Curious Mind, but there's a subtitle. And it just talks about having that quality and how it can completely transform your life. And that's what PSYCH-K is all about. You go in curious because you could very easily say, oh, I know what this is, right? I know what this is about, and I know what's causing this. Oh, it's this. It's like, no, let's just see, because you don't know. And when you go from that place, you're taken down such a beautiful path of exploration and insight that it's the coolest thing ever. So that's my tip. Just be curious. You don't know it all, so don't think you do.
There's one thing that my life is teaching me, is that the only thing that I do know is that I don't know anything. So to be curious is so powerful. I agree with you on that. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us again, Laura. It's been a pleasure. It's Alexi J. McDonald here, signing out from our Conscious Conversations. Thank you again, Laura. I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This was great.
Thank you
Bye,
to
everyone.
everyone who's been watching and participating in these conversations. Everybody who's watching must be learning something. So thank you so much for joining us. And I'll see you all on the next episode. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.